Mine's my background always tripping. Anyways, if you came in the building, say something. Get this thing right one of these days. It's gonna be like that, I guess, because that thing always be perfect until I get ready to go do something. Anyway. What is it turn? Yeah. Let's see how this thing Let's see what's going on. So, anyways, man, I just want to talk a little bit of boxing today. This is Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. My background's tripping, but got to go through the growing pains. What is going on? Salute, salute, salute. Salute, just do boxing. What's going on, man? I think I'm about to move this camera. What's going on, man? Just wanted to talk some boxing today, man. I'm hearing a lot of things going on, man. Man, it's getting real interesting, man, out here. When it comes to the topic of boxing, man, and for a hardcore man, it's a lot of opportunities, man. It just really depends on what you really want to see, man. If you really want to see fights and you're an optimist and you're looking for ways to make fights, if you're optimistic about, young fighters coming up, prospects and all that, contest. There is hope. There is hope, in the sport of boxing right now. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm hearing news about Earl. He's saying he going on with the show. I heard some possible news about the Eubanks kind of been. I don't have anything in concrete. I do think that Eubanks was taking Conor Ben very, very lightly, saying that all he needed to do was be 60%. I think somebody tapped him on the shoulder and said, bro, he gonna punish you. He gonna punish you. But I don't understand, man, because one side of boxing is you go by you sign a contract. Basically, it used to be in your blood. So you put your signature on something and you say, I concur. You gotta follow through, man. I'm hearing people say he should pull out, and health. And it's like, that when you sign up and they giving you millions of dollars, and this is not something that you didn't really think about, because Eubanks should have been fighting Charlo. Eubanks should have been trying to make it happen with Andre. Everybody was in line for Triple G and Canelo at some point, but to pursue a fight, to even get wrapped up in it, and now I'm wondering, how good is Eubanks' pullout game? I can't say he pulled out yet. I think it's a ploy, man, to rock people to sleep. Until they come out and say, till I see something concrete, I don't know. All this talk about Devin going to 140. I hear a lot of people, man, coming out saying that why he want to run, and Loma need the smoke, and then some people saying Loma don't need the smoke. Loma deserved to sit in the corner like Baby on Dirty Dancing. I don't get it. I'm like, if the sole purpose of how you got the belt, what I'm saying, is through Loma, and him wanting to go unified now. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, my question is, when it comes to Devin, it's like, okay, well, if you can't make it and you go up to 140, who are you going to fight? Who are you going to fight? Couple weeks ago, before it all started happening, I was like, man, don't you know Devin got a rematch clause? Everybody was saying, oh man, Mike, you be hating, man. It's 2 weeks later. It's 2 weeks later, man. That's why I say, hey, I know I influence. I influence. I influence a lot of channels, man. Perception is a thing, man. It's just whether or not, it just depends on how you see things. If it's thought stirring, if it's thought provoking, if it's the truth, because sometimes people come in and they say things you don't like. You know what I'm saying? You don't like them. That don't mean they trolling. They might be telling the truth. So some of the things, I heard a lot of stuff about Eddie Hearn and how much of a monster he was. And I'm like, well, dang, man, he must change his spots whenever it comes to certain fighters and everything. But this was a rehearsal. This was a rehearsal of what he did when he actually had Kell Brook go up and fight Triple G. This was a rerun, shall I say? This was a tactic that he's did before, And at first I was like, nah, man, Eubanks will probably crush Conor Ben, but then when they were saying the catch weight and they was really, that kind of made more sense. And I'm like, but man, Eubanks should be fighting somebody else, man. It's like Andrade is in limbo. He's getting ready to fight Zach Parker. But who knows? I mean, I hope the fight still go on, man. I hope the fight still go on. What else is out there? Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, man. I think since it's getting closer, people are really starting to open up and say, hey, man, Shakur said he's getting ready to come up to 35. We see him sparring Big Baby, the new Big Baby. And it's looking like he's actually turning the page and he's grabbing the bull by his horns and saying, hey, you know what I'm saying? I want legacy and I want money. Can I have both? So a lot of people were saying that 135 is lit right now. That's what I'm saying. It's one big party, man. And if they all start dancing around, man, if they all start dancing, we still don't know who Tank is fighting yet. It's hard really to assume what's going on with that, but who knows? Until we hear an update. Who knows? Peace and love. The Just Do Boxing family. Keep grinding. Appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. To the Just Dudes. I really do, man. I really do. I like the perspective of Just Do. I be listening in, man, and it's a balanced perspective. You know what I'm saying? I try to be the same way. It just I don't know. But y'all I heard some good cooking. I chimed in for a little while and heard what was going on. But I'm kind of concerned, I mean, I'm thinking, man, because this weekend we really didn't have any boxing and we had YouTube boxers. And I was like, man, how could you be creative if you want to say a celebrity boxing? I'm thinking right now, you want to know an ideal celebrity fight that will go down that I would really think might be really interesting. Showtime Sean Porter and Mikey Garcia. Think about it. They celebrities now. It wouldn't be that much pressure. Sean Porter, he running around doing whatever. I mean, we wouldn't look at him the same way as when he went into the Bud fight. Mikey Garcia, he's, doing real estate, selling cars, I think he still be having that itch. And I don't know why him and Regis didn't go down, but I don't think Mikey was that, I didn't think he was truly that pressed to go get that Regis smoke. You know what I'm saying? It is fake boxing. Yeah, it is. But I'm like, man, this is where it's going now. It's like, some certain people only want to talk about certain boxers. And then it'll get off into the politics and everything, I was like, man, I think that the winner of the Triple G and Canelo thing that's going on right now that nobody really wants to really talk about is important because if Canelo take a loss or if Triple G take a loss, what's going to be the consequences of that? What's going to be the consequences of that? How is that going to trickle down to everybody? And I was saying that Canelo is setting a precedence that people are starting to follow. It's the same thing that we were hearing when Mayweather was, doing his thing, and then, he kind of like semi-handed the torch to Canelo, and they were saying, oh, man, well, Canelo can do it because Mayweather did it. Now we're saying, oh, well, Canelo can do it. Now the next people start to maneuver around and do everything for money. And I'm like, man, capitalism, man. Once you start doing a whole bunch of stuff for bread, which we all do, but when it drives the sport, you know what I'm saying, as far as seeing these fighters and everything, it's a slippery slope. So we're looking at Canelo Alvarez go back to the watering well with Triple G. Think about it. We're starting to open ourselves up to all these trilogies and these quads and And it's like, man, there's plenty of people that could mix it up with each other, man. But we keep going back to the watering hole. I could see if they were like devastating, knockdown, drag outs. Like if it was a fight like I say, like Gary Antoine Russell and Rancis Bartholomew, that looked like it need a rematch. And then depending on how that fight looked, that might see those kind of fights because it's like, dang, okay, we saw what was going on. We saw Gary Antoine face adversity, right? But then we saw him overcome it and get him out of there. But then we saw something questionable by the referee coming in and jumping in a little bit early, and calling it. But we gotta be careful, man, how we be co-signing and jumping on these bandwagons and say, all right, let's do it again. Let's do it 3 times. Let's do it 4 times. It's like, but you don't want to fight nobody else. You don't want to fight anybody else. So I want to know what happens with the results. I want to know if people gonna ride with the whole Triple G still old. If people gonna say, "Oh man, well Canelo was really never that good, man." Because I'm hearing people change up, man. People changing up now. People that I was debating with like a year ago about the whole Devin and all that. They all turning now. They all saying, "Oh man, enough with the Devin Haney stuff." Now I'm like, man, you was, man. I don't know, man. It's just gotta keep going, man. Just gotta keep going with this sport, man. Gotta keep following it. Gotta keep pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying? To grow, gotta do it. But it was a point in time when Bob Arum had said that Devin Haney was on the wrong side of the street, and everybody was all up in arms saying, "Oh man, and I always say a lot of these things are like hindsight is 2020. When you're talking about them in the present time, people be looking at you like you got an extra head growing out your neck. You know what I'm saying? And at that point in time, it's not the popular opinion, but in time, when it happens, people just jump over and say, "Oh man, I knew it all along." It's like, no. So I gotta get better at that. That's why I say I gotta get my lives up. I gotta get people to actually talk boxing. I gotta get people to chime in, and sometimes hearing a different perspective might actually make you think that you're not so crazy. You actually are paying attention, but there's some new people coming. I know at work they ask me about boxing a lot of times, and I get to talking about boxing and tell people about the fights and who's who. But long story short, Bob said he was on the wrong side of the street. And in hindsight, we saw that Undisputed didn't happen over there at the Zone. It didn't happen with good old Eddie Hearn. He was good at the time when Devin was with him. He could do everything when Devin had him. I don't know what happened when he was with Kell Brook. I don't know what happened when he was with Anthony Joshua. I don't know what's happening right now with Conor Ben and all this. I can't speak for now, but I guess let everybody tell it, man. He was just the best thing since sliced bread when Devin had him, but Undisputed didn't happen over there. And now he got on the right side of the street. He actually was able to get Undisputed. T.O. had already laid out this plan. He already knew every plan. I think T.O. got tired of not being in the picture because I think Bob has his eyes set for the golden one to have those belts at 135. That's been the play all the time. And whether or not Devin Haney runs up to 140 or not, I believe it's going to be Shakur. Because when you listen to the interview, Bob was saying that either it's going to be Loma and Shakur or Haney and Shakur. But the common denominator was Shakur. Shakur got Jay Prince. Shakur is about legacy. Shakur saying he wants to fight everybody except for him and Devin Haney are friends. That energy is like, well, if it happens and it's build up and all that. So I don't know. I know that when certain boxers touch 135, it's gonna get interesting because Tank's there. I think that I was saying today that I think that Tank's, legacy and everything, it's gonna be one of them ones where, as for right now, it's gonna have to be one of them things that's just gonna be judged on the very, very back end. Because we don't really know the criteria for what it will really take to get somebody that's not over there to actually be able to do the deal. Like, what's the criteria? I mean, I would say, man, I don't know if you can be signed with Bob. You know, I know that might not be one, but may not be able to be signed with Bob to do it. They flirting with this Golden Boy thing, but I don't know how Oscar and them get away with doing what they doing, man, because the whole thing was they wanted to split with Showtime for the Munguia and the Charlo fight. Now they want a co-promotional split with the Tank and Ryan. I mean, I don't know. I want to assume that something's going on. Something has been done. I want to assume that. I can't say for sure because we don't know. And sometimes, sometimes trying to keep up with the chats and trying to keep up with all the narrative that you face, and sometimes it's kind of hard to defend. You know what I'm saying? Some of the top dogs that you rock with, because there is no information. There's no information on when Maul Charlo is fighting next. We got a date, I think, for Tank, but we don't know who. We don't know what direction it's going to be. You know, I think it was real interesting that when De Los Santos beat El Rayo, for some reason, everybody was saying, oh, no, they wouldn't put nobody like De Los Santos in there with Tank because that dude can box. And I'm like, wow. I said, but if they did put him in there with Tank, then the narrative would be, oh, man, they don't know. Who know this guy? Or what did he do to get a chance? I don't know, man. So I stopped trying to get in front of all that Tank stuff. That's not my job, man. It's just my job to be a fan and support however I can. I'll talk about the competition whenever it's announced, but trying to defend some of this stuff is kind of ridiculous because you don't have anything really to defend. If somebody's been doing something a certain way for so long and they're getting the most bread that they can in their class, that means wherever you at. So if you're getting the best grades, and grades is money, and you're in the 4th grade, but you're the best, like in the class, you're the head of the class. Like, really, what can you really say to somebody like that? You don't really know the next move because you're dealing with Floyd. Floyd came out a minute ago. It's probably been it's been more than a year. It's been a minute ago. Floyd came out and he said that it was plenty of fighters on PBC. There's plenty of fighters on TMT and PBC that could be made, and he was gonna go do the in-house. And a lot of people were just going crazy. You know what I'm saying, online, like, oh, look at this. It's only gonna be in-house. It's only gonna be in-house. It's only going. And then all the promoters do it. You know what I'm saying? All of the promoters do it. They all do it. And then later on, you come out and hear, and you went on to hear that at one point the Zone, they didn't even have any U.S. fights. Like right before that, JoJo Diaz, like in the summertime going into the fall, they were saying there was no more European dates for American fighters. I was like, yikes. Well, all that changed, and then now you hear Bob coming out saying, man, hey, they're all good fights that can be made on Top Rank. And he was talking about Loma, Devin, and Shakur. That's what he was talking about. I think the ideal fights is if you get 2 stars and it's at the right time, and as far as the budget and what everybody's making, it makes more sense to go in-house. And it pretty much has to be something really special for everybody to actually start playing together. Either that or mandatories have to get involved. And then depending on how the mandatories go and which way that go, we might get a good fight, but somebody might be called a duck because depending on who you're talking about, mandatories don't trump. Mandatories do trump unifications, depending on who you're talking about. Depending on who you're talking about. Yeah. Depending on who you're talking about, mandatories trump unifications. Yeah. Just depending on who you're talking about. But my only thing is this, man. My big thing with Tank when it comes to me talking about Tank and looking forward, because man, I want him to fight everybody. Everybody that's saying his name, I'm like, man, it should be just line him up, and every 3 months, you know what I'm saying? Take this check, boom, knock him out, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. I mean, but at some point in time, you're gonna look back and say, man, because right now, were there ever opportunities to fight Lomachenko? Yes. Were there ever opportunities to fight Gary Russell? Yes. Were there opportunities to fight Regis? Yes. It was an opportunity to fight a lot of these fighters, and I mean, we understand in some cases why it didn't happen business wise, but at some point in time, you're gonna look back and say, okay, well, Abner Mares did pull out. Ryan Garcia did pull out, right? But when we say let's fast forward, like how Earl just said, I'm gonna fast forward to November the 19th, and whether you come with or not, I'm going to dance, right? So let's fast forward to, let's just say 7 years from now for Tank. What's going to be added onto that table in that list of names from who we know and who we don't, that's actually going to bolster up that all the divisionals, all the accolades and all that, and then making the bread. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is in today's day and age is making the bread. Let's be honest. It's making the bread. Why? Because whenever you look on the news and or you hear about somebody doing something shady or doing something, they hooking and crooking, or you find out something ain't right, what they always say, but they making that bread though. So the logic is like whatever the fuck you doing out there, as long as you making that bread. I mean, that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in right now. So yeah, you made a lot of money, or it's gonna be going down that yes, y'all made a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? But things happen sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I think Tank has done a very good job as actually getting focused and, you know what I'm saying, just really being focused. Because you look at him in between fights, he really don't go up and go down. But if we fast forward 7 years from now, is Tank gonna be happy with everything? I mean, our bank account wise and being under Al Heyman, we know financially and being able to, you know what I'm saying, provide and invest, and you know what I'm saying, he ain't gonna be broke. We know that. He's gonna have some bread as long as he keep doing what he's doing. But is he gonna look at Floyd and he's gonna sit down with Leonard and he's gonna sit down with the team and say, you know what? That was on the table. That was an opportunity. That was an opportunity. That was an opportunity. That was an opportunity. You know, because everybody suggests and says that these things can happen, right? But nobody has the real recommendation. Everybody wants somebody to do something real outrageous and crazy in order for things like that to happen. You want people that are invested in fighters to actually sell stuff and like do things that don't happen business wise in order for these fights to happen. We as fans, we want them things to happen. We want them to happen, but it's like nobody has a solution as to how these things can happen. And trying to defend it, you can't defend it. You can't defend it. I don't want to see Ryan Garcia. I don't. I'm going to support my man, you know what I'm saying? I don't think Ryan Garcia is ready. And before anybody try to flip it and say, oh, man, yeah, you just scared he going to knock. I said, man, you can't pay me to bet against Tank. I don't want to see Ryan Garcia, man. I don't want to see Isaac Cruz. And when Canelo, I'm gonna break this down since this is Canelo Triple G week. When Canelo was getting ready to go up there to cruiserweight, and Usyk was like, "Oh, you're gonna come up here to cruiserweight? Oh well, you know, as long as I can maintain my spot up here in this heavyweight, I'll come down there and I'll see about you." Canelo ain't want no smoke, but he was gonna go up there for that McAboo guy. He was gonna go up there for that Makabu guy, and then when Makabu looked the way he looked in that fight, I guess they said, "Oh no, that's gonna be a bad move." Because if they would have caught him before he looked that bad in that fight, everybody had been sold because he was going up to that weight class. These are the precedents that I'm talking about. He was going up to that weight class, making it in the history books look like he was daring to be great. But I say he was daring to be graped. You know what I'm saying? He was. I'm like, you still like when it comes down to stealing, when it comes down to like taking money and all that, that's what he was doing. And so I'm wanting to say, okay, well, it's just like when he went back up, it's like you can't go. This is my rule, my personal rule. It is fair game. If you dip your toe in the division and you actually show that you can go and fight in that division, anybody in the room from the tippy top to the very bottom is fair game. So it's kind of hard when somebody say, "Oh man, well, he went up there for Barrios. Why won't he go up there?" I'm like, man, I don't know the money situation. I mean, as far as fighting, I believe he would, but I don't know what the criteria is. You know what I'm saying? But you got a bunch of clones running around spitting out these narratives like it's true, and then 2 weeks later, when it all hit the fan, they coming back like lying and telling the truth now about what was really going on. That don't mean that fight could have happened either. It's just you can't really defend some of the moves that's being made, and you can't get in front of it. You have no answers. Nobody has any answers. Everybody just guessing, and it's like when boxing get low and get slow, nobody really reporting on all of the up and comers. You know, these replacement fighters. What happens after? Like, where is Santos now? Because everybody jumped on the Schmeat after he won. Where is he now? He was propped up because he beat El Rayo, but El Rayo, had he went through that thing smooth, he was probably going to get a Pitbull cruise. Who knows? It was early for him. You know, those out of that stable, them fighters are mostly offensively gifted. They have no defense. I'm not gonna say no defense because you have to actually overcome their offensive abilities. But if you can connect and you have any kind of lateral movement, you know how to, you know what I'm saying? You know how to punch right, and you know how to maintain some sort of distance. You can beat those guys, man. It's sad, but you know, I think Jose Benavidez Sr. all it's gonna take is for David Benavidez to get matched up with the right person. Somebody just not gonna stand there and let them just fire off. Because Tyrone Davies had a lot of success. You hear, hey, with a full camp, do you ever hear David Benavidez asking for a run back or saying, "Oh yeah, I'll take that smoke"? What if Tyrone Davis now, 154 pounder, moving up to fight him? What if Tyrone Davis would have had a full camp? What if Breadman could have worked with him for a full camp and got David Benavidez? What would have happened? Some people would say the same thing. I say I don't think so. He was a replacement, and he was a 154. Or am I tripping? Am I tripping? And it's this facade that, hey, he running around, man. There's a lot of people running around saying, "Oh man, this person won't fight me, and that person won't fight me." And then you go look up and see who they fight, and you like, that's what happened when it go to trial. I was like, man, yeah. I mean, it's clear that the face of boxing turned down a contract, a $50 million contract, not to fight him. Jaime Munguia was saying, oh, okay, cool, we in negotiations, and Oscar De La Hoya come out and say, nah, we ain't gonna do it. They was getting mad at him for getting ready to fight Selecki. It's like, who else is he gonna fight? Andre running around talking about he wants Zach Parker to get in line for Canelo. Who he supposed to fight? That's why I said, man, he need to just pick him up, man. Just pick him up. Miss Cookie. Salute Miss Cookie. Just pick him up. Pick somebody out and just go make a statement, make an example out of one of these people. That's why I said, man, like one of the things they did, they used to do that to Mr. Gary Russell all the time, man. Talk about how inactive, but he was perhaps the most avoided fighter in boxing. The most avoided fighter in boxing. There are people who are clout chased, and there are people who are avoided. And there are people who say, oh, man, it just so happened they was at this division at this time, and they were all together, but somehow they mosey-woseyed on by, and that fight never really crossed their mind. Cause I be hearing Regis when he be talking about Tank, man, but aggressively. You know what I see? I see Gary Antoine getting busy. I'm talking about dealing with adversity. He just dealt with some adversity. You know, I don't really see many people lining up, but you're gonna make it to where you're gonna have to go see him. That's why I'm like, when Devin go up there to 140, who is he gonna run to? Because let's just say, let's run with the whole theory that it ain't a duck if you go up and fight bigger, badder competition. So if you avoid Tank Davis at 135, let's not say avoid. If you don't so happen to fight Tank Davis, because we got to be real careful with our words. If you happen to not have a fight at 135 with Tank, for whoever's reason, we can have a finger pointing contest all day. But if you were to avoid having a fight, or if by chance some time went by and you did not fight Tank Davis at 135, and now we have an opportunity where Bob is actually throwing the alley-oop. We know that pay-per-view is for Loma. Loma got to get past Jermaine Ortiz, which all indicators say he do. Now, we're not going to overlook him because De Los Santos is a perfect, but this is not De Los Santos versus Ryo. That's not what that is. So I'll play that game. If people want to play that game, that's not what that is. That's Jermaine Ortiz being pretty much, he's going to get lifted. Depending on how well he fares in that fight with Lomachenko, especially if he go 12 rounds with him, that's going to be an Isaac Cruz over there. He's going to get the same kind of publicity depending on how he fares with Lomachenko, and they'll just slut him around too to everybody else. Now, if he mess around and knock Lomachenko out, he'll put his name in lights. But that pay-per-view is really for Devin and Loma. And it's questions now on whether or not Devin is actually going to do it. I'm like, why? How can there be questions? But Shakur's coming. If Shakur's coming, and that means you're not going to see him at this weight class. And they said something about there'll always be a different weight class. I'm like, it's a matter of pounds, man. Like between 135 and 140 is how many pounds? 5. I get it though. But if Tank and Loma or Shakur or nobody else down there in 135, now you got your name in lights, it's in history. If you're not going to take a fight of a magnitude of somebody like Loma, who are you going to fight at 140 with a better stature than Loma right now? A better stature than Tank right now? Who? Because everybody say, oh man, he going 140. What's the other option? Why we don't ever hear about the other option? I don't know, man. I know we're not hearing anything about Kambosos. I hope somebody in the camp is actually focused on him and watching out, because, man, this man ain't got nothing to lose. He don't have anything to lose. If that man just work on his stamina, and he look at all that film about how you like to jab and how you like to dip and what you like to do, and You're gonna have to figure out whether or not he figured that out, because he's always been, he'll put pressure on you, but he'll put pressure on you to counter you. So he'll put pressure on you to make you react, and then he reacts. And that's how he got T.O. He got T.O. all riled up and wanting to actually be all confrontational and just thinking off impulse and not using this technique and not actually boxing. He didn't settle down. When you saw that T.O. actually settled down, he started having more success. Then he realized, oh, okay, this is what he's doing. It had got too far, and I think at that point T.O. was already pretty much done. And Kambosos stepped it up in the championship rounds. But if Kambosos, because remember he missed weight, if Kambosos is on weight and Devin is saying, oh, I gotta go up to 140 because 135, so the weight is an issue. So either the weight is an issue or the weight isn't an issue. But if Kambosos is working on his stamina and he actually have a game plan, he can make a couple of adjustments, man. If Devin does not take chances and make a statement to get this guy out of here, judging the fight can be like, okay, well, we don't know we know the scoring criteria, but we don't know what these judges are thinking because they apply it differently. You might be able to stay out on the outside on somebody like Kambosos. But with Lomachenko, man, I think unless you really like a pressure fighter or somebody that can come and bring pressure and sustain pressure, I don't see anybody really beating Lomachenko by just standing on the outside with a jab. Not down there like that. You got to go get him. So it is real interesting, man. I mean, I don't know. I was wrong when I said I wanted to see him before everybody else was saying it. Now everybody's saying we got to see it. And now I'm like, well, shoot, if you said I'm going to 140, I mean, I know that statement you made about who you would never let beat. It's like, okay, when they said that, they're going to line 2 or 3 of them up because it could have, imagine that. It could have been Kambosos, then Loma, and then Josh Taylor. They're like, oh, yeah. They would have lined up the gauntlet for it just to, that's how it is, man. You don't think they think about stuff like that? Because you said who you would never let beat you. Earl. Some people are clamoring for Earl Spence and Keith Thurman. As far as the matchup, I don't mind the matchup. I just wonder what Keith Thurman we're gonna get. What Keith Thurman we're gonna get? Because who bargained that was the Sean Porter we was gonna get when we got that Sean Porter against Bud? Who bargained that's what we were gonna get? We was like, oh man, Sean Porter, he can upset the apple cart, but then it was this friend stuff before the fight. And then we see the build up. We see Tank was in the sparring beforehand. And then we see what happens in the fight where Sean Porter had a lot of success in that fight. So I'm looking at the people that's all in that same age, at that age group. Amir Khan retired. Kell Brook retired. Danny, he was out, but he made his transition over to 54. Mikey Garcia, he took a step back. We see what Adrian Broner is going through. Pull-out game. So I'm like, which Keith Thurman are we going to get? Because the Keith Thurman that actually fought Mario Barrios, he looked dangerous, but then we had to consider that he was doing that against Mario Barrios. We got to consider that. I think when Keith went in there with Manny Pacquiao, he underestimated. He was talking about alligator arms and, he was talking about all kind of stuff that, really was showing that he was taking Manny Pacquiao lightly. Could he have beat? We thought Manny Pacquiao was going to get crucified by Keith Thurman. We thought that, oh man, the way he talking, but he didn't respect a legend. And he couldn't take it to the body. And with inactivity, I don't know how that helps the body, especially when, you know what I'm saying, you maintain and carrying all that extra weight for so long and then trying to shrink down as you get older. So I'm nervous. I'm like, man, if Earl turned the corner, he said never though. So I got to go by what Earl said. I wouldn't mind stylistically. I wouldn't mind. It just, I don't know what Keith Thurman would even show up if Earl ever had a change of heart. You know, when it's coming to boots, man, I see a lot of people, man. A lot of people got their luggage, man. Yes, a lot of people got their travel bags, man. Everybody's booked to head to Philly. I see a lot of people hitching their trucks to that wagon, man. I do. I see a lot of people jumping out there for the boots, man, based on the eye test, man. And I call him Sasquatch feet because, I mean, I still want to see him against somebody proven. But I see a lot, man, Bud fans, man. Look, if Earl Spence going to fight somebody else, whether it's Daniel, if it's somebody and it's not Boots, or if you decide to go up, all of the Bud fans that's all quiet now, all of the Bud fans that are all quiet now, they're going to come out in droves. And guess what they're going to have on? They're going to have Boots costumes on. Yes. It's a lot of Earl Spence fans. They're getting ready to pull out their Boots paraphernalia. Yes. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. People are slowly straddling that fence and jumping on the Boots. If you've been following Boots and you know what's going on, you don't have to do all that. Y'all been depriving yourselves of being Boots fans all this time because you thought that you couldn't like Bud and Boots. You thought you couldn't like Spence and Boots. How about this? You thought that you couldn't like them all and just wanted to see them fight. Just had a preference in who might win. Imagine that. If you ain't know anything about them personally and you just saw their fighting style, you could like them all. You could have a preference on who you think would win. You can use triangle theories. When people say, oh man, triangle theories, that's it. Yeah, but they use it when it come to money. They use it when it come to everything else. So triangle theories, they do. They set out a pattern. They show a pattern. They give you data. It's like the silly, you use these things in everything else in life, but you can't use it in boxing. Yes, they don't always reign supreme. No, they don't. Because in boxing, anybody can have a bad night. Been plenty of time when somebody come out flat. Some people can actually overcome. Some people got to get hit, knocked down, smash. You know what I'm saying? Beat up, maybe knocked into the ropes, maybe get worn, a low blow to get woken up. But overall, they might have been having a bad night. Might have been having like Charlo and Montiel, even though I don't really think that was a bad night. I think that Montiel just gave it a little bit more than what he had. I mean, he was like, dang, man, I think he finally realized, well, dang, I'm still hanging in there. He got hit with everything in the kitchen sink. He got dominated. Much like Devin Haney and Linares, those fights were pretty much identical. With the exception of one or two events in those fights. You rise to the level of your competition. But I mean, a lot of people talking about Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury and all that. I mean, man, I be wanting to hear about some of the new guys, man. Because right now, like the new guys are the new guys. There's only so much drama that can surround the new guys. But you ever wonder why we don't ever hear about the new guys? Because casuals only cater to the big names. So there's not much drama to be had around the new guys, but we're not hearing about Jared Anderson. We seeing him spar, but he's not getting the push. He's on Top Rank. If top Rank right now, they got a squad of people. I mean, the PBC got some killers too. They got that guy on PBC. One of the guys I'll be looking at, man. It's kind of hard to gauge him, but he looked like the goods. He lost once over there at Top Rank, and they let him go. He went over there to PBC. But that dude Elvis Rodriguez, I think he good. I think he good. I think he's sneaky good. You know, I want to see. I wouldn't mind seeing him and that guy, Michelle Rivera. You know, I know Michelle Rivera can box. I just don't know. I don't know. I still have some questions. He can definitely box. But I do have some questions about him. But we're not hearing about a lot of these up and coming guys, and I think they were all dependent on a certain amount of dates and stuff. I'm pretty sure Frank Martin was dependent upon what was going on with Man Down, because he's Man Down. And what better way to put, you know what I'm saying, put your young guy out there, you know what I'm saying? Put your young hungry killer out there in front, you know what I'm saying? Let him eat. You know what I'm saying? You know, passing the torch. He's doing it the right way. I just don't know, man. I hope we get an announcement soon that the fight is actually made. I haven't given up. I just don't have any energy to really push anything and have to retract anything. You know, we don't get to see Jamel anymore until the beginning of next year. But I don't think that right now. I don't think Jamel Charlo is getting the just due that he deserves. I don't think he's getting the just due that he deserves. I asked, was he the face of boxing? And I went into a chat today, and somebody was saying that they don't see the significance of or how a champion, an undisputed champ that fights one fight is not as good as an undisputed champ who went around collecting all the belts. I said, wow. I said, all right, hey, peace out, man. I said, y'all have a good one, man. I don't. The fact that it was one fight against however many belts. So whether you fought for a vacant or got handed a vacant, let's just say you got to go do it at least 3 or 4 more times. So you got to have by the sheer number. Like, I'm like, man, what are we arguing now? So one fight versus somebody that had to have 3 fights or 4 fights, and you saying you don't see how they're equal. I'm like, man, like I'm on a different planet when it comes to boxing. I don't care what name you will put on there. If you can fight one time and win all the belts, and you had to fight 3 or 4 times to win all the belts, you still had to endure by the sheer numbers, by going through that many camps, by being that patient, by I said, wow. I said, man, this is not. I finally get what they said, man. I was watching the channel. You know what I'm saying? I was watching the channel, and they said, man, you know what? Maybe this ain't the channel for you. You ever thought about that? It's just not. And I finally get what they're saying, man. It's not for, like, if you got to explain certain things and you got to, like, argue about certain things, it's just like me trying to tell somebody that my life matters. Like, if I actually got to explain that to you, like, it's some things in boxing, if you actually have to explain that, it might not be the place for you. That don't mean that you're lying. It just might not be the place for you. Because I know in the military, man, I know when I was in the military, man, like, it was a level of it. It wasn't just like something you said as far as integrity. It was like something that was like an unspoken rule. Like, it was only an unwritten rule. Like, if everybody knew, you know what I'm saying, what was going on, it was just something that you just didn't do. Like, because, you know, if a lack of integrity could make anything happen. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm just different. You know what I'm saying? I can't take and use an example over here, you know what I'm saying, that I know to the T. I'm crossing all the T's and dotting the I's. I can't take an example over here and apply it over here and then act ignorant over it. It's just a level when it happens like that. It's just a level of integrity that it won't be compromised. I wouldn't be telling anybody to take any kind of legal action that would actually fuck them up and have them all in litigation out here, or have their name tied up, or to even burn bridges with all these people that you got to do business with. Especially when you know that really all the suits, they all really work together. So it's really the boxers and the fans against the suits. You ever think about that? It's the boxers and the fans against the suits. It's us against the suits. And the suits all know they all doing the same thing. They thrive off of each other. They all have the inner workers. They all have the ability to make deals, because guess what? If it's enough money involved, anything can happen. If it's enough money, anything can happen. But to me, it's the boxing fans and the boxers against the suits. That's what it really is. We gotta work together. But we really don't do that, man. We just find ways to be divisive and figure out ways to creatively justify why certain fights aren't gonna happen. I'm not doing it no more, man. I'll speak my facts on what I know to be true and what I don't know to be true, man. At the end of the day, I still want to see the fights. I don't know how in the world you can be a hater of somebody and you done been paying for subscriptions. You don't even rock with. You pay for the fights. All these fights. You pay for them. I pay for them. It's very seldom that I don't pay for a fight, because either I'm not interested or it's just not worth. You know what I'm saying? But I don't encourage people to stream fights. I don't, you know what I'm saying, to do all that crazy stuff. I just don't. They don't get no play. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's something that I want to touch on about a boss or something like that, or something that's going on that's key to something else. Like I kind of used to think that the Robertson Casasau and Shakur Stevenson fight, it had like some bigger implications as far as all the belts because of that guy Cordina, and then you got O'Shaquie Foster being the mandatory. But I'm like, if Shakur is moving up, I mean, somebody's gonna have to get them belts, and so I'll be thinking about the landscape, man, the different divisions, what's gonna happen. And right now, I think 135 is unfitness business at 135. Where it's gonna go, I don't know. At 140, Josh Taylor got to do the rematch. He's dropping belts. It looked like something I said when I talked about that Martin episode, when Martin and Gina got into it, and because Martin was actually just being all extra or whatever, and Gina checked him or whatever, and he basically asked if she could make it seem like he won when they went out in the bedroom. And then he walked out and he was like, and you better not do it next time, you know what I'm saying? But he was fronting, but Tommy saw right through that shit. And Tommy was like, she hurt you. She hurt you bad. That's the analogy I had when I said that Bob probably sat Bud down and had a talk and said, hey, if you want to, you could probably do this and you could probably do that. And you can do this and you can do that. And guess what? I still got Josh Taylor coming up for you in your back pocket. So go out there and see what you can scrounge up. Get it all, you know what I'm saying? Garner up all this praise, because if all this marketing he was doing, he was running around these celebrity basketball games and playing paintball, if it all wasn't to go towards the Errol Spence fight and it was actually to go towards the Josh Taylor fight, as a Bud only fan, I'm talking to the Bud only fan, not those of us who actually appreciate Bud and the skill set he has inside the ring. Not those guys. I'm just saying, as a Bud only fan who you can only like Bud, would you not be disappointed? Oh, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Would you be okay? It's just something to think about. I'm doing these lives because a lot of people say that I be online just, going crazy or whatever. I'm not. I'm just trying to build the channel. You know what I'm saying? It's a place where you can come in with a different perspective and just, talk about boxing. Anyways, man, thanks for everybody who came into the chat today. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the views. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for it all. Here at Bodywork Boxing, we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.